Well, it is Christmas Eve today. That means when you go to bed tonight, you'll go to bed excited, waiting for Christmas morning. When you wake up tomorrow morning, it'll be Christmas Day. So it's an exciting time. Well, I love Christmas, and I loved Christmas as I was growing up. Every year Christmas was special, but there was one year when I was about 9 years old that was my very, very favorite Christmas, and it was for several reasons. Number one, it was snowing on Christmas Eve. And I was so excited. My brother and I would look out the window. We'd say, "Look, it's snowing, it's snowing." So that made it exciting. And the second thing was my mother had decided that year that we were going to have a pink Christmas tree. Now, I know you wonder, how do you have a pink Christmas tree? Well, you take a green Christmas tree and you get 3 or 4 cans of spray paint, pink spray paint, and you paint that tree. And she did. And we had a pink Christmas tree. It was so much fun. And we were the only people probably in the whole world that had a pink Christmas tree. And she had all the lights on it, and then she covered it with something called angel hair, which was a spun glass kind of stuff, and it made the lights look like they were down in tunnels. It was the prettiest tree in the world, I'm telling you. And then the third thing that made that Christmas so special was my dad came home that day, and he carried a whole stalk of bananas. Now, I don't mean a sack of bananas. I don't mean a big sack of bananas. I mean he had a stalk of bananas. He was carrying them on his shoulder when he came upstairs to where we were living. And he laid those bananas down, and my brother Don and I looked, and we'd never seen a stalk of bananas. I don't even know where he got it. But we were so excited. We just went bananas over those bananas, and we began to eat bananas, and we had bananas for 3 or 4 days. He actually brought them about 3 days before Christmas, but we had all those bananas. And as I said, it was snowing, and we were looking out at the snow, and we said, Daddy, look, it's snowing." And we looked around. Our dad looked out the window, and he kind of rubbed his chin like he was thinking. You know how your mom or dad, how they do when they're thinking real deeply about something? And he was looking out the window, and he said, "Snow is not good for some people." And we thought, not good for some people? Why, snow is good for everybody. And we said, "Why?" And he said, there's a family that lives out in the woods. That was kind of strange to us, a family living out in the woods. And he said, he broke his leg. The husband broke his leg at the sawmill, and he hadn't been able to work. And he said, "I just don't know what they're going to do." Said they have a whole house full of kids. And so he and my mother talked a little bit, whispered among themselves, and then my dad went out, and he came back a couple hours later. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening now, and he had a bunch of little toys. And when I say toys, I don't mean toys. It was like a little plastic horse or something like that, or just a little ball, and 4 or 5 little things like that. And he had some blankets and some clothes. And he said to my wife, he said, "Sweetheart, I'm going to take these things out to this family." Said, "I'm not sure they'll take them," said, "because the man doesn't like to take charity." Well, I didn't know what charity was, and I didn't know. I looked around, I didn't see any charity. But I learned since then that charity is when you help somebody, and some people they kind of feel funny about other people helping them. And so he was loading the car up, and I said, "Daddy, can we go? Can we go?" And he said, No, you boys better stay here." And I said, "Oh, I sure would like to go." And all of a sudden he stopped, and he looked around at us, and he said, "Yeah, boys, I think it'd be good for you to go." And he told us, "Get your coats on, let's go get in the truck." So we got in the truck, and we started out, and we drove outside of town, and we drove out past where the roads were paved, and we turned off the road on what used to be a gravel road, and that was kind of snow-covered. And then we went to the end of that road, and we turned on another road that I guess was a road. I couldn't even see a road. It just looked like snow. And we drove until we got to a little, just a shack in the middle of the woods. And it didn't have any window panes. It had newspapers and things like that covering the windows. And when we drove up, my dad said, you boys stay right here and let me just go see if it'll be okay. He went, he came back a few minutes later. He said, yeah, they said we could bring these things in. And by the way, we had taken some bananas. We had plenty of bananas, so we'd taken a sack full of bananas. And all these little toys, little trinkets, not really toys, just little trinkets, and some clothes and some blankets. And so we went in the house, and when we got inside that house, I shouldn't even say house. It was one room, and there was over in the corner a big pile of straw, a pile of hay, and that's where everybody slept. There were no beds, there were no chairs. The man was sitting on an apple crate, and he had his broken leg propped up on another apple crate, and that was all there was. And right in the middle of the room was a barrel that had some fire burning in it. And that was what heated the house the best it could be heated. And all those little kids were over there just huddled up in the hay. And my brother and I were just looking at each other. We'd never seen anything like that. And we were not wealthy people by any means. We were actually very poor people. But we had never seen anything like that. And so my dad began to give them some blankets and coats, and he was kind of apologizing. He said, hey, I know you've kind of come on hard times. I know you broke your leg, and we just want to help out. We know you'd do the same for us if I'd broken my leg. And the man said, I would. And then he opened this little sack of toys. No, not toys, just little trinkets. And the kids went absolutely crazy over those little toys. They would pick it up and look at that little plastic horse and say, look, it's a horse. I have a horse. And they just all were so excited. It made me wish that we could have given them a whole lot more. And And they just absolutely went crazy over those bananas. They began to peel those bananas and eat them like they had never eaten a banana. And my brother and I were just we had actually already begun to complain a little bit about having to eat bananas. And so when they started eating those bananas, we thought, wow, that's the way we were when we first got those bananas. So we left that night, and when we got in the truck to go home, we didn't say a word. All the way home, we were just totally silent. And I didn't know for sure what Don was thinking. I knew what I was thinking. And I was thinking, I'm so thankful that I have a bed to sleep in, that I'm not having to sleep on a pile of straw. And I'm so thankful that I have clothes to wear. And I'm so thankful that I have a mom and a dad that can provide for me, and a house to live in. So when we got home that night and got in bed, it was the first time we talked about it. And I said, Don, what'd you think about that tonight? He said, it made me thankful. And I said, well, that's exactly what I was thinking. And when we got in our bed that night, we felt of our clean sheets, and we said, I'm thankful for these clean sheets. And when we covered up, we said, I'm thankful that we have cover and that we don't have a big barrel burning in the middle of the room. And that made such an impression on me. It absolutely changed my whole perspective on Christmas and for the rest of my life. Now, that's been 65 years ago. And every year at Christmas, that's the memory that I have, the number one memory that I have of Christmas. is learning to be thankful for what I have and learning to be joyful in giving something to other people.